Hey everyone, Kenny Chan here, Century 21 Procenco Group. Today we're going to be talking about the pie, which is the relationship between prices, interest rates, as well as equity. So let's get started. So generally, state of the market, October 2022, for the most part, for the last several months, prices have been on the decline while interest rates are on the incline or increasing. Now, how does that actually affect your equity in the short term? So let's get and take a look at that. So today we're going to compare two different buyers, buyer A and buyer B. Now these are real numbers that I'm using. So the average price of a semi-detached property in Peel in January was $1.24 million. And the average price for the same type of home in Peel, semi-detached, in August 2022 was actually $955,000. So you can see that now we look at the down payment. So you can see the 20% down payment of buyer A is $250,000, and the down payment for buyer B is $191,000, which means we have a buyer A mortgage of $990,000 and a buyer B mortgage of $864,000. So to keep things as equal as possible, we are amortizing or paying off this loan of $900,000 and $700,000 over an entire course of 25 years with 5-year terms for renegotiating the interest rate or changing lenders, etc. So let's get started. So in buyer A's situation, when they were buying back in January 2022, this year, they probably could have gotten a fixed interest rate of about 2.5%. Now the buyer B getting an interest rate nowadays in August was probably paying about 5% for a fixed interest rate for 5 years. So how does that actually affect their monthly payments? So just take like 1 second and think about whose monthly payment do you think is going to be higher? And the answer is they're actually both exactly the same. So I didn't make up these numbers to make them the same. They just happen to look exactly the same. So it's about $4.5 thousand every single month that they're paying on the mortgage. So now you're going to be asking me, okay, who cares? So who cares if they're paying the same? How does that actually affect maybe how much equity that they're going to be building up? Because when you're paying a lower interest rate, more of this monthly payment of 4.447 is actually going towards paying off the principal or paying into the principal and paying less interest. Whereas at 5%, you're going to be paying a lot more of that monthly payment towards the interest instead of towards your equity, which is your principal amount. So you can see buyer A's, when you compare their interest payments versus principal payments, you can see 57% of their total monthly payment went towards their principal, only 43% went towards interest. Whereas buyer B has a slightly more unfortunate situation where 67% of that payment goes towards paying just interest, and only 33% or 1/3 of it went to paying their equity or the principal. So you can kind of see over the first 5 years how much principal or equity have they accumulated over the 5 years, assuming that price never changed. So let's assume buyers A, 5 years later, their price is still the same at $1.24 million. They would have accumulated an equity of about $152,000 if they sold it 5 years later at this exact same price. Same thing for buyer B. If they sold this 5 years later for the exact same price they paid for, they would have only really accumulated $87,000. So now's the time to be thinking, okay, whose situation is it better to be in? Buyer A or buyer B? So there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it as it's a great time to buy now because if you're a buyer B, you have a potential for greater appreciation over time, right? This number at 555 could have at some point in the future, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years end up higher than 1.24 million, which means maybe you've gotten less equity over the first 5 years, but you've gained a lot more equity through price appreciation, right? So there's potential for appreciation and equity long term. We're obviously talking about a time span that's at least 5 years or maybe close to 5 years or even longer. Or you could say it's still not a good time to buy now because it's just as unaffordable as before. And we're looking at affordability in terms of the total monthly payments. So if you're going to own this home for 25 years, whether or not you bought it at 1.24 or 955, assuming the same price, you're paying the same amount of money every single month. So someone could argue housing is still not more affordable even if the price went down simply because the interest rate went up. So you're going to be paying more money towards the interest, right? So two ways of looking at it. it's totally up to you as the person interpreting these statistics to make a decision for yourself. Now, I do want to present what if. So what if prices rise over 5 years? I'm very convinced that the current buyer, so buyer B, is likely to be in a better position if the price of this increases over the course of 5 years. So they'll get their own equity plus the additional equity of the price appreciation. So it depends on if you're willing to believe, if you believe that in 5 years or more, the prices will increase as opposed to being stagnant or decrease. Now, if you have any questions, my email's there, my phone number's there. I have way more videos on YouTube, lots of tips about navigating the real estate market. Just search up Kenny Chan Real Estate, and I hope to see you at the next one. Bye now.